How many of us have certain expectations that we place on God? Right? There's usually certain things that we expect. And the same is true for the Jewish people. Some theologians would say that their best guess would be that the other 9 of these lepers were most likely Jewish. And so they come to Jesus for healing because he is between these 2 towns. And the Jewish men, they don't return. Why? Because all they're looking for is to be brought back into their community. And so while they're on their way and they are cleansed, they're not worried too much about that, but more about the approval of the priest who will inspect them and pretty much tell them that they are cleansed. And so once they receive that, they're like, great, I'm back in the community, don't need to go and do anything else. And so they, in a sense, they have forgotten what we hear about in the first reading, that the cleansing that was received, it converted that person to realize the one true God. But yet these other 9 have taken it for granted, not really recognizing what they have received. And many times that can be us, expecting certain things in our faith, in our walk with Jesus, right? The expectation that Mass will always be here, the expectation that there will always be a priest in the confessional, that things will continue as they are. And it's many times where we don't lose something that we truly tend to realize the gratefulness that we have. And for this one that came back, he was not Jewish, being a Samaritan, pretty much cast out from that community no matter what, pretty much hated. He was probably fine with being at a distance because he's always been at a distance. But yet what happened to him was the turning around, the return, somebody different, somebody made new. And so he is no longer held at a distance, but he is now brought even closer into the community. That's an important aspect, because what we don't realize, what we can miss is, and this may be something that is very small, but it's kind of funny that in advertising, it's always like 4 out of 5 recommend this, or 9 out of 10 stars, or 1 out of 4 dentists would not recommend this, something like that. And here in the gospel we have 1 out of 10 came back, which means that the vast majority will allow the true purpose of the cleansing to come into their life and then blow away in the wind, basically. When we hear this line, "Stand up and go, your faith has saved you," the Greek word for save can also be translated as heal. So we could read this as, "Stand up and go, your faith has healed you." And to also realize that this healing is not just physical, because in the temple there is a sign that says no foreigners beyond this point. And in the gospel, this is the only instance where Jesus says, "None but this foreigner return to give thanks to God." He is telling the people that where there was once a barrier, there is no longer one. That those that we see on the outskirts are now called to come ever closer. We tend to see ourselves as the main character in our life, but we're not. When in reality, we are just a co-star. We are not the one that has brought us here. We are not the one that has brought us into the kingdom. That's all done by the grace of God. We did not have to exist, but we do. And so we come here to give thanks, right? The root of the word, Eucharist, thanksgiving. as none but this foreigner returned to give thanks to God, to give a Eucharistia to God. While we may be suffering from a physical illness, a mental illness, a spiritual illness, whatever it may be, it is the very action of our life that brings about that healing in light of God. Jesus didn't heal them right away. He didn't even say, "Go, you are healed." No, he just looked at them and said, "Go to the priests," which is according to the law. Some would say that this leprosy could have been more of a skin disease or a fungus, which then I'm thinking, I'm glad y'all don't have to come to me or Father Hank to verify any healing. But it is on their journey that the healing occurs. And it is on their journey that the one who was at one point not allowed into the deepest depths of the sanctuary, not even allowed into the court, but kept at a distance, that in his conversion, because that's what conversion is, a turning around, he is brought into deeper relationship with Jesus. Now, how does this challenge us today? Good question. If you were born Catholic and baptized as a child, there is a greater risk of you being one of the 9. Why? Because this faith is all that you've known and seen and experienced. Because Sunday Mass has always been here for as long as you can remember. That in any driving distance, you could find one. And there are entire areas of our country that are Catholic on a cultural level, meaning that there are so many Catholics around that it's pretty much taken for granted to learn any more, to go further. We're seeing that in areas like New England where they're not challenged. And so they experience the grace of God and they give a half-hearted, "Oh, thank you, Jesus." And their life goes about just all the same, as if they found a parking spot where there once wasn't one. But when the Lord heals, meaning when He saves, it should always be a moment to really sit and really contemplate, wow, this has been done for me. Is there anything I need to change about my life? Is there anything I need to do to give thanks to God? Because we've all experienced a empty thanks, right? If you have kids, you've experienced it, right? They're like, "I want my favorite dinner." And so you make it, you put it on a plate, and they grab it, "Thanks," and run off. It's like, I don't know if that kid understands what thanks means, right? We can all sense that. It even happens as adults, that empty thanks. But let's not bring it here, and let's not bring it to our neighbors. Let's not bring it to our enemies, because this one man had to journey with the other 9, who for sure hated him, but yet they were all dirty. So the other 9 are probably like, well, might as well come with us. We're dirty, he's dirty. Once we get clean, then we'll go our separate ways, and he can go do whatever those people do. There should be no barriers, nothing that keeps us from our neighbor. And so this week, pray to give true thanks, to spend a few moments looking at what the Lord has given you. Start with the basics: food, shelter, clothing, friends, a job, a society that, while may seem to be crumbling a bit, it is definitely not like in other areas of the world. And so this gospel challenges us to awake from a sense of not walking away, but walking towards and walking closer to the one who heals us and the one who brings us more into communion with Him and our neighbor.